Hello, hello, hello. This is Talking Manchester United, a United Stand podcast with myself, Paul Gardner. And joining me as always is Ash Burns. How are you, my friend?
Yes, very good, thank you, mate. A lot better than I was last night at this time. A little bit stressed. The heart didn't sort of take it very well, but no, it was good. Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm feeling a bit better. I think I've recovered. It was a bit of a nail-biting game, to say the least. Before we dive into that, though, we do have a guest with us. I would like to introduce from across the pond, Andrew. Andrew, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. I can tell you right now that if we had lost that game yesterday, my attitude would be a hell of a lot different right now. But I can't complain.
Excellent, good to hear. Well, let's talk about the game then. So, I mean, it was an emphatic finish, wasn't it? But it was, for the most part, it was quite a poor game. But at the end, I think, and a lot of people also said this as well, we've seen the United of old, didn't we? We sort of seen that the Fergie time era-esque comeback and late victory, which we've all been, that sort of attacking style football, that fight until the end. We've missed that, haven't we? I'll come to you first, Andrew, since you are our guest. I mean, what were your thoughts on the game in general?
All right, so game in general, I know that at halftime...
You can be as brief as you like. We'll go into detail in some of the aspects of the game, but just as an overall sort of thought, what was your thoughts on the game?
Just overall thoughts on the game. First half, there was absolutely nothing to be excited about. As a matter of fact, I was pretty sure at halftime that we were going to lose just from the way that the team looked. But then second half came out, they scored that goal, and all of a sudden it's like we went 2 goals down. They're like, you know what, maybe we should start playing. And for me, I'm like, why can't you do that from the start of the game? Why does it take that we had to go 2 goals down to get to that mode? But they at least did start putting in an effort, which you can't complain with that too much.
No, I'd agree with that. I think we see that quite often in a lot of our games this season, where it takes us sometimes 60, 70 minutes before we actually start playing, whether it's 1-0 down, it's 0-0. And you think to yourself at the end of the game, why not do this from the beginning? What were your thoughts, Ash?
Yeah, it was very reminiscent of the Chelsea game again, wasn't it? It was almost, we needed that. We needed to concede a goal to give us that kick up the backside. We needed to actually start playing. Just in this case, it was 2 goals, because I thought even after, what time was the first goal clocked in at? I can't remember. It was something like 30. Was it 30 minutes or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
I thought even after that first goal winning from Palace, I thought, and we discussed it, I think it was last week, we said about it, it's sometimes we do need that, and it seemed at times we have needed to go behind or something to happen for us to do something decent. But even after that first goal went in from Palace, I don't think we looked like doing much, which was really frustrating, which was really odd for me, because we were shocking again that first 30 minutes, as we have been at times this season, and I thought to myself, right, okay, something needs to happen. Palace scored, and I thought, right, here we go. We're gonna start, doing something. We're gonna start kicking off now, and it just nothing happened. And then that second half comes, and they get that early goal, and to be honest, I thought that was it. I didn't see us anyway coming back, just for the attitude and everything to do with the players. We were second to every single ball. We just looked lethargic in midfield. Again, the defence was abysmal. That partnership just isn't working. And it was just everything. But fair play to Mourinho. You've got to praise him. He gets a lot of stick. Those are substitutions that he made, really sort of turned the game on its head. We pressed them, which is, I think, something that we didn't do from the start. We pressed them more. We put them higher, we put them under pressure, and luckily it came off for us. But yeah, it could have been a lot different. But man, very, very happy with the result.
You touched on the midfield there, and I think it's a common theme now, has been all season, that the problems stem mostly from our midfield. I mean, there are defensive issues as well, but I think the problems come mainly from our midfield, and we've seen that again yesterday. McTominay, who he has been on an upward trajectory in terms of his form and his development, but he disappeared yesterday. I thought we got bullied quite a lot by the Palace midfield. Matic very much the same for most of the game. For most of the season, really started well. He was brilliant in the second half against Chelsea, but for the majority of the game against Palace, he seemed to just be like he has been most of the season. And Pogba again, just far too slow on the ball, giving it away, losing it. I mean, at times, to me at least, it just looked like he's either disinterested or he's given up. I mean, is that fair to say, Andrew? I mean, look at it this way: he's playing in a 4-3-3, and we've been crying out for him to play in a 4-3-3, but on the left side and his so-say favoured position. But it just doesn't seem to be working. I mean, do you think he's given up or disinterested, or was there a deeper lying issue there?
It's hard to say. You would think that having the midfield three would be helpful, but from what we notice, I mean, I don't know if you guys agree, but I feel like that the main issue stems from the fact that there isn't a lot of speed in the midfield. It's like, I don't know what's going on in Paul's mind. And I actually remember talking about with you guys this on Twitter, that it's like when Paul actually kicks on the Jets, he looks like he's the fastest player on the field. But it seems like most of the time he's just kind of going at a half pace. And we need someone in that midfield. And honestly, I think it's the reason why a lot of us have been calling for Ander Herrera, and I know he's hurt right now, but is somebody that actually does have that bit of tenacity, somebody that can get out there and just take control of the actual, box-to-box sense and let Paul kind of focus more offensively. Because I think that right now, to limit what he needs to do is probably for the better. But it's weird. I feel like a lot of the players on the team, just when we go up, it's like if we go up against lower competition, and it's a trap thing too. I mean, they talk about the NFL all the time, these trap games. But
what do you mean by trap game?
So a trap game is where you go up against a lower competition, somebody that's
right.
Great example, like the bottom three. So you kind of tune down your mentality because it's typically because the next game is a very, very strong opponent. We've got Liverpool coming up next, and so it's like all the team's focus could have been on Liverpool when you should have been focusing this week only on Crystal Palace, because no matter what, at the end of the day, these guys are professionals and they get paid to be out there. They're going to put in all their effort.
See what you mean. Yeah.
So I think that maybe a lot of the players maybe tuned down their mentality, and it took us actually going 2 goals down for them to be like, okay, maybe it's time to, actually start trying. And I feel like that shouldn't have to happen though. That's a frustrating feeling for us as fans.
That's a good point you make, actually, about effort levels dropping against lower opposition, because you do see it quite often. Especially, you notice it even more when teams come to play us, because when they come to play us, it's like their cup final. Everyone ups their game when they're playing against Manchester United. So I think you could say the same the other way around. When a big team plays a lower team, are they dropping their game slightly? Maybe not all the time, but I guess it does seem a little bit like that. With United at the moment, and again Herrera, I think that's one player that everybody would be screaming out for at the moment. Ash, remind me, was it against Chelsea where he played the first 15 minutes before he got injured?
No, Sevilla.
Was it a game before
Sevilla,
that?
I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, Sevilla, not Chelsea. Yeah, Sevilla.
The Chelsea game,
but
even the same midfield as yesterday. Yeah.
Of course, yeah, we did. That's right. Yeah, because McTominay had a great game, didn't he? Yeah. But yeah, Herrera, I think he would make an absolute. Well, yeah, he would. He would make a brilliant, huge difference to our midfield, I think. I mean, he proved that against Sevilla. We looked more tenacious in the midfield. Just him alone. We've seen him playing against Liverpool, against Chelsea last season, early stages of this season. And, he gets in their face. He closes them down quickly. We need people like that in our midfield. We don't get that much from McTominay. We don't get it at all from Pogba. But I just don't know what it is with Pogba. What's your thoughts on Pogba, Ash?
Well, this is an interesting one because I've looked quite a bit at this, and I'm glad that the points that you've both brought up, because they're points that I both think are spot on really when it comes to our midfield. Because you said that there's no real energy from Matic and from McTominay, and I'm exactly the same. And there's one thing, there's no speed, which I'm glad you said, Andrew, and there's just no bite in that midfield. And I think someone like Herrera does give us that bite. But the thing that I look at with Pogba is, as much as he's underperformed a lot of times this season, I boil it down to he's a quality footballer. There's no denying that. And I think for me, he has been hyped up so much, and not to the biggest extent by United fans, but by everyone else, because everyone loves to slate Pogba.
Yeah.
What I think is we expect too much of him, in a sense that and I don't just mean United fans, I mean everyone, because obviously everyone wants to justify the £90 million price tag or whatever it was. Everyone expects him to be a box to box. Everyone expects him to be a number 10. Everyone expects him to be a number 6, intercepting every pass from the opposition team, breaking down play, and shielding that back four. He can't do all of that. He's, you know what I mean. He can only play in one position, and that's where I think, why we've seen him struggle so much is because you look at the likes, of the players he's got alongside him. He's got Matic and McTominay, most recently, and for me, they're the same player in a lot of respects. Yeah. I think they're too slow. There's no bite. I don't think there's hardly any aggression. As good as Matic is intercepting the ball at times, he's very inconsistent, but he can do it. I don't think he's aggressive enough. You don't really see him going into tackles as much as he should be. I know that's a horrible thing to say, but we need that bite. We need that energy in midfield. Someone like Herrera, as you said, would be maybe a prime example of someone we can put into that midfield to get that balance back. But our midfield is. I'd go as far as saying it's in dire straits because, and I've said this on many occasions, and I stand by it, that apart from Pogba and Matic on their day, I think we've got one of, if not the weakest midfield in the Premier League. Because just for our depth of options, we have no options in midfield. You look at Herrera getting injured now. Apart from McTominay, Matic, and Pogba, who have we got in that midfield? Fellaini and Carrick. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Fellaini and Carrick. Then we've got no other. Yeah, okay, we can talk about bringing up youth and what's not, but it's going into the a top 4 battle, which could still happen at the moment. Champions League, it's it's all building up, and you look at that squad depth we've got, especially midfield, and it's horrendous. It is very, very poor. So as much, I wouldn't. I think Pogba has got a tendency to lose his head and maybe sulk a little bit, but you only have to say that. He looks disinterested. You only have to look at his celebrations when that Matic goal goes in last night. And to be honest, every goal that we scored last night, he was, one of the most animated on the field. So the passion is still there. I think the drive is still there. He needs those players around him, and he needs to be given, a duty. Right? What are you going to do? You can't be a 6, an 8, and a 10 and be a box-to-box midfielder at the same time. No player in the world can do that. So I think he needs to concentrate on, either be a box-to-box, either be a number 10, or either be a number 6. Do one for me, and then let the other players around you, play in the different positions. Because at the moment, it's the way people talk about it is it seems as though we're only playing Paul Pogba in the midfield. We're playing a 4-1-5. Do you know what I mean? And everything's. No one talks about the players around him and what positions they should be playing. It's always about Pogba and what he should be doing more. Well, he needs support. No team can play with one person in midfield and dominate games from the midfield. So he definitely needs help. And I think people need to stop putting as much pressure on him as they do. I'm not targeting United fans, but everyone else. And of course they will because it's United. But yeah, I think he needs to pick something and he needs help.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. You're spot on. The players that he's got around him aren't the best in terms of the midfielders, Matic and McTominay, as we've been discussing. I think we've pointed this out a few times. Once we've had another transfer window and our midfielders been strengthened, a bit more quality in there, maybe he'll thrive more. Now, I was reading an article online earlier. I can't remember the source, unfortunately, so I can't tell you where I got it from. But it was an article that was written about something a pundit said after the game. And I can't remember who the pundit is, to be honest. But what they said is that the reason Pogba is playing so poorly is because of Sanchez. And the reason they gave is because Sanchez is dropping too deep all the time and he's getting in Pogba's way. And I thought about that for a moment and I thought, well, I disagree with that. Now, you guys might disagree with me, but I've said this consistently for months. Our attackers are always dropping deep to pick up the ball. Martial does it, Rashford does it, Lingard does it. Sanchez is doing it. And he's new to the team and he started doing it. And the reason for that is because our defenders and our midfield can't pick a pass into their feet, which is why they're having to drop back all the time. Now think back before Pogba was injured, wasn't he? He was out for 9 weeks.
Yeah.
Before he was injured, he was absolutely fantastic. He was one of our best players, and our strikers were still doing pretty much the same then, dropping deep quite a lot. So I don't think you could necessarily say that it's the forwards' fault for Pogba's inability to pass the ball. So I don't know what your thoughts on that. Does Sanchez have anything to do with it? I'll go with you, Ash. Go on. No, sorry, go to Andrew, because Ash just spoke for about half an hour.
I did, yeah. I just shut up.
Well, I mean, I think that I heard Mark talking about this yesterday too on the live stream. That
Right.
it does seem like they sometimes get in each other's way. Like they're trying to play in the same position, and we do notice that quite a lot. That it does seem like all of our attackers are coming back to midfield almost all the time, and it gets frustrating for us because we're like, come on, guys! Like we know you're better than this. What's going on? So it does make me question what the tactics are inside of the game, because at a certain point, like if players are continually doing that, I think it's got to be something down to a managerial tactic or a game plan tactic or something, because I couldn't think that the players would constantly be wanting to come that short. Now that's just me, but I do notice that at times they seem like they do get in each other's way, and I don't know if it's down to the fact that they're both wanting to try and help lead the team, and that's not a bad thing to have two people that are wanting to get the team to the heights that they know it can be at. But I think that having such a short amount of time to try and figure out, each other, figure out where you want to go, where you want to go. Alexis, are you going to go like a little to the left on this one, a little to the right? Basically, there's the chemistry just seems a little bit off, and I've been pretty hard on Mourinho in fairness, but right now it's like I'm willing to give another season, even though I've been Mourinho out basically up until honestly I would say yesterday. But it's like watching the game, you can see why, like how we're able to be yesterday. Like the team that was for the last 40 minutes of the game is the team we know they can be.
Yeah.
But it's like they're never actually that team until there's actual duress. And so when we get when we get another round of players and I think that ultimately we need at least two midfielders to come in to help, because number one, Michael Carrick's leaving. Thank God Fellaini's leaving.
Don't speak
hopefully,
too soon,
let's not jinx it exactly. But and then on top of that, I just think that we need to add another midfielder, period. Just because I think that we need the help. And I know that you guys have talked about Milinkovic-Savic, and I think that he would be amazing to join the team. But then I think we still need somebody that is a little bit more tenacious for that, CDM role. I know that Matic had that screamer yesterday, which was absolutely amazing goal. That's probably one of my more favorite goals I've ever seen. But having somebody like Fabinho that can be tenacious in that defensive midfield role, and it basically act as a N'Golo Kante.
Yeah,
for us,
somebody tenacious and quick as well.
Exactly, because
who has good vision. What we need really is another Michael Carrick, because he did that job so well. He had the vision, the speed. He could read the game like a book. We need another Carrick is what we need.
Do you know what I think?
Yeah, we need somebody always looking up. Yeah,
I think we need, and I think this will tie in with Mourinho. I think we need a Ramirez. Do you remember he was at Chelsea? He went to China, I think, then.
Yeah,
But do you remember Ramirez in Chelsea's teams? He was unbelievable, and everything was centered around him. He was quick, he was tenacious, he would bite at every single other midfielder, and he was, I'd say, at his peak, he was better than Kante in that Chelsea team. I thought he was unbelievable. One of my favourite players from opposition sides, and I think we need someone in that mould, and I think it would suit Mourinho absolutely perfectly. But it's who is out there that would fill that role? There's not many, I don't think, that would be available and are skilled and experienced enough to jump straight into our side.
I think we've come to the consensus that our midfield needs strengthening.
Yeah, a little bit.
I want to move on to our defence because there was a little bit of concern. Well, obviously there was. We conceded 2 goals, sloppy goals as well, but not just those goals. But there was other points in the game as well where Smalling and Lindelof just they didn't seem like a partnership. I mean, for the last couple of games when they played together, we've been singing their praises. Lindelof's been pretty solid, but yesterday I just thought they both looked like they had just met.
Yeah.
They didn't know each other, but they just met. Lindelof looked a bit weak at times. I mean, he grew into the game a little bit. But at the beginning, he looked a little bit shaky. He missed controlling the ball, as did Smalling, and that's just one quick incident that popped into my head then. But there were other occasions during the game as well where they looked a bit shaky. Now this might be a little bit harsh to say, but there were times in that game I thought, is he ready yet to be thrown into the centre of our defence, considering the amount of times that he, a lot of his aerial duels he didn't win. He's not really jumping above his man or anything like that. I mean, obviously you'd rely on Smalling or Bailly for those sort of things, but you can't. You need to have that in your locker as well. I mean, would it be fair for me to say that maybe he's not ready yet to step into that central defensive role? I'll come to you, Ash.
Yeah, perfectly. And I think it does look like that. And as much as I've praised Lindelof for his mentality and everything, it doesn't look like he's quite at the races. But I will say it doesn't help having a partner alongside you like Chris Smalling, who would have trouble controlling a wet sponge. I think he's, and it's that defense last night. The two of them, that was the closest representation on a football pitch as I've seen to the Chuckle Brothers. It was.
Well, you can't take the title of Chuckle Brothers away from Smalling
and Jones
and Jones, because they are literally
to
me to you.
Yeah, I suppose
they are the definition of Chuckle Brothers.
They are, but again, who is the problem? I'm gonna do it. I don't care anymore. I'm gonna do it. It's Chris Smalling, and it's not. I don't want to say it's just him, but you look at for both of the goals. For that first goal, Chris Smalling, Lindelof, and Ashley Young were all out of position. You could even say, to an extent, Valencia was as well. No one pressed the ball. No one rushed to the edge of the box to pick up the run from Townsend. Horrendous. The second goal, Chris Smalling and Lindelof, mostly Smalling, I'd say, because he's kicking off and throwing his hands up like a child. Gets beat down the line by Van Aanholt, no problem. And there was times, again, in the game where missed clears and, again, like you said, didn't jump to challenge the man. I saw Smalling did it with Benteke with that amazing save that De Gea made. He let Benteke get in front of him with no issue whatsoever, and then a half-assed attempt, not even to really jump for the ball. Lindelof did it on many occasions. Young was caught out of position, God knows how many times. Every time he got the ball, and it was funny because I did say something, I think, during the first half. The commentators on Sky Sports were going pretty ballistic at the fact that every time we got the ball centrally, Ashley Young had acres of space down the left and we weren't playing him in the ball. And I replied to him and I said, because he's shit, that's why, to put it bluntly. But every time Ashley Young gets the ball, you know what's happening. He's cutting back in, he's going to try and swing it in with his right. And to be honest, Valencia, he put a decent cross in for Smalling's goal. Apart from that, it didn't do much else. And I just think that entire back four is atrocious. It pains me to say I love Antonio Valencia, and I think he is probably the strongest link of that back four. But he's getting on. Positionally, he was very poor last night. As athletic and as strong as he is, I thought he got caught out of position so many times last night. It was unbelievable. And I just think there's not one of those back four which I'd be starting next season. which is scary to think that we also need at least 2 people in the midfield. You're looking at squad, boosting the squad. Yes, we got Timbo to come back. He'd definitely be a shout to go somewhere in that back four. Obviously, with more game time, more experience. I think Luke Shaw has to start for me. I didn't think he did amazingly well when he came on last night, but I thought he at least gave us an option. A left-footed left back is what you need. And
what I like about Shaw, what I like about Shaw is when he gets the ball at his feet. If he can't immediately see a pass on, he'll run with it.
Yeah,
he'll do something with it. He won't just stand there with his foot on the ball waiting.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes he might if he's got 2 people in front of him. He can't run anywhere. But quite often, more often than not, if he doesn't see an immediate pass on, he'll run with the ball and look for a pass.
Yeah,
and that's what I like about him. And he's quick as well, and he's strong, and
yeah.
he'll run through most people.
Well, and he is, and it's we get caught out so many times, especially Young. I've said this, he gets caught out so many times down the line. And as a defender, if it hasn't changed from when I was a kid, you were always told to show your man down the line. And because he's a right-footed player playing left back, he always gets beat down the line, and he's always puts in a poor challenge if a winger goes to the byline. And it's. Yeah, for me, I'd replace every single. And the biggest gripe I had last night was Eric Bailly. Why wasn't Eric Bailly starting? He's been fit. He's been back in the squad for a few weeks now. He needs to be starting. The only way I will be, let it be, and become justifiable is if he starts against Liverpool. Because I think we have to start Eric Bailly against Liverpool. We cannot play. The likes of Young, Smalling, Lindelof against that Liverpool attack. If we do, we are going to get massacred. There's no doubt about it. I think Liverpool can be got to. I think they've shown a lot of frailties. I know we're jumping ahead a bit, but I think they can. But if we let them play the game that they're going to want to play, I think we'll get mullered if we play that defence. So I think Eric Bailly, if we go at 3 at the back or 5 at the back, whatever it is, but Eric Bailly needs to be in there, preferably not with Chris Smalling. But what happens? But that's I just think to sum it up, then I think that back 4 against Crystal Palace shouldn't be there next season.
And you might be right. Your wish may come true. I do think that we're going to be looking at full-backs. I don't think we'll be looking at centre-backs. I think we've got plenty of those. Yeah. Lindelof, although he had some shaky moments yesterday, I do believe maybe he's not ready yet to be that, big, strong, reliable is probably the word I should use. Reliable centre-back that we want him to be, but I think he will get there, and I think that our future partnership will be Bailly and Lindelof. I think that was why they were both brought into the club, to eventually replace Smalling, Jones, Blind, Rojo, but I think we will retain a couple of those defenders as backup. So I don't think we need to bring any centre-backs in. I don't think we're going to, but full-backs definitely. So I think you'll get your wish there. Andrew, I'll come to you on the next one. Moving further up the pitch, it was another struggle for Alexis Sanchez yesterday against... I've just forgotten. We played against...
Palace.
It's gone completely out. That's it, Palace. I'm actually looking at the word Palace on my screen now. But yeah, another game where he struggled, giving the ball away a lot. I mean, to me, at times, it looks like he's just trying too hard. What are your thoughts on Sanchez's performance, Andrew?
So, I mean, overall, I was actually happy with Alexis Sanchez's performance. The one thing that I can say about Alexis Sanchez is that he is always trying to make something happen.
Yeah.
What it does remind me of is it reminds me of, I mean, I don't know how you guys play FIFA, but in FIFA, I'm like, whenever I'm making a pass, especially offensively, I'm trying to make a risky pass, one that will pay off, pay dividends. It'll put somebody through one-on-one. It'll do something like that, and that's what it looks like Alexis Sanchez is constantly trying to do, is he's trying to make it so a player will have a great opportunity to score when he's putting in a pass.
Yeah,
but it does look like at times when he's got the ball at his feet around the box, that it looks like he's almost freezing at times. And I don't know if you guys noticed that as well, but like it looks like he's not comfortable trying to take a shot right now. He's not just naturally and free flowingly making his movements. And it's something weird because like I don't know if that's like he is just thinking too much about like, oh, I want to make all the fans happy, you know. I mean, because when he said that he's coming to play for the club of his dreams, I honestly believe that. And when you're trying to impress the fans like that, it's going to make it so you're going to be second guessing yourself inside of that. Just from a psychological standpoint, you're going to be like, okay, well, if I mess this up, is it going to be? Are the fans going to turn on me? You know what's going to happen? But I think that once he gets a little bit more time with the team, I honestly think that this season is always going to be a little bit of a struggle. Just he's going to have moments of brilliance, but I think for the most part that it's always going to be a struggle.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on him, especially wearing the number 7 as well. I mean, I've been calling it the curse of the number 7 in recent years, but he's going to be fully aware of that number being on his back. A lot is made of that number 7, so I think maybe that is a little bit as well as trying to impress the fans. I do think he is trying a bit too hard, but I do also believe that once he gets a couple of assists, once he gets his first proper goal, I don't count that rebounded penalty against Yeovil as a goal really. Once he gets his first proper goal, I think the nerves will settle a little bit, and he'll settle more into the team. I mean, people might say, "Oh, he's 29; he should be able to just hit the ground running." Doesn't always work like that, especially when you're going to a club like Man United.
Yeah, exactly. I 100% agree with that. He just I think a little bit more time with the team, a little bit more time with the players. I think that he's really going to settle down because you can see it. You can see that his brain is working. But his sometimes is just not making that intelligent decision right in that moment at times. But I am really happy with him overall, just because he looks like he's the only player on the pitch at times that is making the effort to put in that risky pass, to put in that risky ball. Right now, at least. I mean, I know Paul Pogba does it at times, and then Scott McTominay had that beautiful pass to Lukaku against Chelsea. But, for the most part, I just feel like Alexis Sanchez is the only one that's willing to kind of put in a little bit of that risk,
I think another thing that will help him as well, and this is something I've noticed a lot in the games, is sometimes when he picks the ball up and he's running into that sort of number 10 area, he's looking up at the wings to play a ball out for someone to cross it in, a fullback. And quite often you'll look up and there's no one there. So then he's got to turn around and go back the other way again. No one there. And then, so he tries to play a pass through the middle, which gets blocked out. And then you see him throwing his hands and he's pointing to the wings like, where is everyone? Where is everyone? Because the fullbacks just aren't getting forward. I noticed that quite a lot last night as well, when they played a few replays. You look at how far up the pitch Young is, and then you look at the opposite side, and Valencia's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
He's still back level with Smalling and Lindelof. I mean, you expect your fullbacks to get forward, when you're attacking. That's what we've been used to over the years. That's what most teams are doing nowadays. Look at the fullbacks at Chelsea, at Alonso on the left. He's fantastic left back, always getting forward. He chips in with goals quite a lot as well. Look at the likes of Spurs, and that their fullbacks are known for getting forward and getting crosses into the box and getting in crossing positions. We just don't see that enough from ours, and so I think that's another. I think if that's the sort of the ball that Sanchez is looking to play quite a lot of the time, is to get the ball out to the wing, spread the defence, create some room for himself to run into and others, and also as well when he's got the ball in the number 10 area, Lukaku, and I noticed him do this a few times as well, does it quite a lot, is that instead of staying on the shoulder of that last man, he'll take a few steps back. Again, maybe that's something that him and Sanchez have spoken about. Come to me and I'll try and play a little 1-2 with you, and I'll go through. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that could be causing Sanchez to struggle. I mean, I think one of them is the fact that he's relying on movement that just isn't there at the moment.
Yeah. Well, just to touch on what you just said there real quick, I think that having somebody like Luke Shaw, that he really genuinely does look like he's always trying to get down the wings. I feel like that would be really beneficial. I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like Luke Shaw has earned his spot as the starting left back on this team at this point.
My thoughts on Shaw at the moment. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no, you're good.
when he came back from injury, the first two and a half games he played, he was phenomenal, I thought.
Yeah.
Especially his attacking part of the game, going forward. But then his fourth game and his fifth game, he sort of regressed again, and he wasn't making those forward runs. And it was annoying me a little bit. So when Young was brought back in again, everybody was in meltdown, and I thought, well, I can kind of see why, because Shaw seems to have regressed again. And that's why he's been dropped again. But he was given another chance last night, and I thought he did okay, so I'm hoping that he can force his way back into the team again. But yeah, continue with your point. Sorry, Andrew.
No. I was actually kind of more throwing that to you guys because, like, I look at what Luke Shaw has done this year, and I feel like overall he's done a good job. I mean, then Mourinho's been the one to openly praise him and say that he's one of the best left backs in the world. And then I mean, maybe you guys would know better than me, but he hasn't started him in a game since he said that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And he needs to get that run. I honestly feel like, and it's the same thing with Lindelof for the most part, that when it's like the longer that they're in the lineup, the better that they look.
Yeah.
And I feel like unless Luke actually gets a run, it's going to be hard for him to look good. I mean, if you're only getting 30 minutes here, maybe the occasional cup game, you're not going to have a chance to really impress with yourself,
No, very true. Very true. It's important to get runs of games. No, I agree with that. We were saying that about Martial last season because he rarely played, and we kept saying, no, he needs to get a run of games. And so the principle, you could apply that same principle to Luke Shaw as well. Moving back to the front of the pitch again, another goal for Lukaku. He had that long goal drought, as we know, and he's back in amongst the goals again. And one thing that I really liked against Palace is not just the fact that he scored, but the passion just back in him. Because you remember after that drought, when he scored his first goal, didn't celebrate. Second goal, didn't celebrate. Third goal, sort of a celebration. But now we look at him. When he scored, he went mental. And then when Matic scored that goal, what a reaction from Lukaku. So I put it to you, Ash. With that sort of passion, okay, he's going to quickly become a fan favourite. That's what the fans want to see. They want to see the players playing for that badge. Showing passion like Yolanda Herrera's. Now, despite that, we do know that Lukaku isn't the best footballer. And quite a lot of people have said, he might not be here in a couple of years. What are your thoughts on that? He's back amongst the goals again. I mean, he's still a long way behind your Harry Kane's and your Mo Salah's. But do you think that in 2 years from now, he's still going to be our first choice striker?
I'd like to think so, yes. Because as much as he gets slated for his first touch and his footballing ability, in my opinion, he is the best crosser of the ball we have at the club.
But he's not a winger. He shouldn't be crossing the ball.
Exactly. And as much as that frustrates me, I think that boils down to his passion. Again, as we said, he looks like he just wants everything. And you only have to look at the Chelsea game, running the lines where our wingers should be running instead, but instead he picks up the ball, looks for a man inside, pinpoint cross. You look at last night again, I can't remember, it was late in the game, I think it was still 2-2, where an attack broke down from us. Palace received the ball in their sort of, in our final third then, he was well inside their own half, picked up the ball, a little triangle of passes from the Palace, and then Van Aanholt was down the left, and that's the player who was tracking him all the way back, was Lukaku. You don't see it. He's such a hard worker, and as much as people say, he hasn't got football ability, he always, throws in a step over. He always whips in a cross. You look what he did against Chelsea, that run, 91st minute or whatever it was, through the middle of the pitch, taking out 3-4 defenders.
Usain Bolt would have been impressed with that.
Exactly. And for me, as much as people question his footballing ability, he is a quality striker for me, and I keep saying it. He gets so much stick, and I keep saying it, and I say it every week. If you give him service, he'll score. The same as every single striker. How do you think Harry Kane gets so many goals? Because he gets the ball in that final third in and around the box.
Yeah,
that's the only reason Harry Kane scores goals. He's not banging in 30-yarders from week in, week out. I'd say 90% of his goals are in the box because he's given service from the likes of Ericsson, from the likes of Son, from Dele Alli. They're players with creativity and they'll get you the ball. We haven't really got that in the final third for United yet. Yes, Mata does it on occasion. Don't think Sanchez is up to scratch as of yet. And then you look at the inconsistencies of Martial and Rashford. So I think if we, again, we need to look at the balance of our squad, how we're going to approach next season, because obviously not a lot's going to happen this season, but we need width, we need attacking flair, and we need to get the ball to him in the box, because if we do, we'll score. So I'd like to think he'd be here in 2 years, and because I love everything he represents, hard work, endeavour, he's a good finisher, he's strong, and as you mentioned before, his passion is unquestionable. I absolutely love that celebration when Matic scored that goal. He's phenomenal, and as you said, he is quickly becoming a fan favourite, and I absolutely love the bloke. So yeah, I want him to stay for the next 2 years. As long as we build, some decent attacking players around him, there's no reason he can't succeed.
What about yourself, Andrew? What are your thoughts on Lukaku? Do you think he's still going to be first choice number 9 in 2 years' time? The reason I say 2 years is because I don't think he's done enough wrong this year to be said, right, sorry, it's not worked out, we need to get someone else in. He's actually been decent this season. Not outstanding, not excellent, but decent this season, which is why I'm going to say in 2 years' time, do you think he's still going to be first choice?
And that's a great question. I've heard a lot of people recently mentioning sending Marcus Rashford out on loan. I throw that question to myself frequently of if at the end of the day I had to choose in 2 years' time between Lukaku and Rashford, based on what we've seen recently, I would say Lukaku. I feel like Lukaku right now, he has good link-up play with almost everybody in the team, it seems like. And then I'm sure you guys have seen that little clip on Twitter. Everybody at this point should have, where after Matic scored that goal, the reaction that he had, that's what we as fans, we crave.
Yeah.
Seeing someone that has that much passion for the club, that they love what is going on, and I love that that's what Lukaku wants to bring. He wants to bring that passion. Yeah, right now he might not be fully developed and where we want him to be, and blah blah blah. But you could see the work that he's putting in constantly. You could see that he is constantly working hard. You can see that his first touch has improved this season.
Well, that's something I was going to touch on as well. Is that well, actually, you finish your point first. Go on.
No, honestly, go ahead. Maybe it can actually help me out too.
Well, all I was going to say was that for me, I do think he will be our first choice in 2 years. Now, I would like to see Rashford playing as a number 9 because that's where I think he's at his best. But as I said when Mourinho took over and brought Zlatan in, I said on the podcasts back then, Ash, you might remember this, you might not, but Rashford isn't what you would call a Mourinho type striker. Because a Mourinho type striker typically is big, strong, can hold the ball, and feed the runners off of him, and also be that one who can poach goals in the box. Rashford isn't that type of striker, and that's why I don't think that he will be a Man United number 9. I could be proved wrong in a few years' time. I never know. You never know. But for that reason only, I think as long as Lukaku keeps scoring goals, and yes, I do agree, and I do acknowledge that as the season's progressed, he has improved tenfold, really, in terms of his, ball coming into his feet, his control. It's not elegant when you look at it, but it's definitely an improvement. And I think if he can continue along that line, then yeah, absolutely, in 2 years' time, he'll still be scoring 20, 30 goals for us in a season, in all comps.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see that he's got the ability to constantly put in 30 plus goals. And I honestly believe that if he'd had service all year long, he could already be sitting on 30 plus goals. He could possibly even be one of the, leading scorers of the league this year. We've all said it, that he isn't getting the service that he needs, because he's not that type of striker that is like a Marcus Rashford. I feel like Marcus Rashford at times can create his own shots. He can create his own things.
Yeah.
Anthony Martial can go and create his own shots, create his own things. Lukaku is the type of guy that if you get the ball into him, he's going to find a way to put it in the back of the net. I mean, and it's no more evident than when you see what happened when Alexis Sanchez, had that shot come off the bar and Lukaku scored yesterday.
Yeah.
He got? I mean, it wasn't a natural service, but he got the ball right around the goal, and it's like when he gets the ball around that 6-yard box, I feel like anytime he gets it there, he's going to put it in the back of the net. Yeah. Whereas I feel like I've seen Marcus Rashford miss a couple of those this year, which you could say is down to confidence, but I think that it could benefit the entire team to have Marcus Rashford be the backup striker right now. I mean, I feel like Ibra is basically gone at this point. I'm not even going to include him into the squad, and having somebody to replace Lukaku at times would be so helpful. And I don't ever see Mourinho doing that, because, as you mentioned, I just feel like he's not that type of person for Mourinho. I mean, we've got he's always had like a Lukaku, a Didier Drogba. He's always had somebody that he has relied upon to be that big, strong, physical presence. But
someone to give defenders a bit of a nightmare, basically.
Exactly. And Lukaku, to me, I mean, he's the size of an NFL linebacker with the speed of, somebody that is a sprinter when he gets going.
Yeah.
So I could easily see Lukaku being our striker still in 2 years' time. I could see him still being our striker all the way up until his 30s if he continues going in the way that he's going.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that we're all on the sort of the same page with Lukaku. So I think if we'd have been having this discussion maybe a month, 2 months ago when he was in the goal drought, it would have been very, very different. Let's come back to the game more now than individuals, although it will sort of tie into individuals. But the big change in that game was when he made the subs, bringing on Shaw, Rashford, and Mata around that sort of time. That was when we seen the game, the dynamic of the team change quite drastically, actually, because Rashford played quite wide, and there were points, and I was going to mention this earlier, there were points in that game where Rashford would just sort of drift in. You can see Mourinho on the touchline screaming at him, pointing to the touchline, saying, "Get out here, get out here." So he gave us that width, and when he picked the ball up, running at the defenders, taking it to the byline, playing the ball to someone, keep at the very least keeping possession. Me and Ash spoke about this earlier on briefly. Although he wasn't absolutely outstanding, I'll come to you in a second, Ash. Although he wasn't absolutely outstanding, he didn't do anything different to what Martial could have done. At least, I mean, Ash disagrees with me on this, and to be honest, I wasn't really paying attention at this point. I was just praying for the ball to go in the net. But to me, at least he'd done something with the ball. Whereas quite often, Martial would take it one step too far, try to take it around one person too many and end up losing it. But for me, Rashford was able to actually distribute the ball fairly decently. I mean, Ash might disagree with me in a second. And then also you had Mata as well, who came on, linked up very well with Lingard. Mata was always moving. Very rarely did he pick the ball up and stand still with it like we see so much on midfield. He got the ball and he was moving with it, playing little 1-2s, making people move. So when he's moving, other people have got to move. If he runs at someone, they've got to move. Like running towards one of our players, he's got to move and find some space for Mata to pass to. And he was like a catalyst, if you will, for the change in the tempo of the play. And obviously Luke Shaw also providing a bit of width down the left as well. I mean, what were your thoughts on those three changes? Do you think, what sort of impact do you think they made individually? And B, Ash, do you think that any of those three should start against Liverpool?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned before, I think that the changes, we really have to praise Mourinho for the changes, because they did do us a lot of favours. In terms of starting, I definitely think Mata should be starting against Liverpool, because we're going to start Sanchez, and I think as hit and miss as it has been at times this season, I think if we are playing attacking football, I think that Sanchez and Mata connection works really well for us. You saw it, that's what created Matic's goal last night, was that little dinked ball over the top from Sanchez into Mata's feet after he'd run the line. A little bit of a deflection, coming back to Matic, but that's what created the chances. The substitutions were great. I thought Shaw didn't really do anything wrong, but I thought at that point we were pushing so high forward that he didn't really have a lot to do. I thought he could have maybe overlapped a little bit more, shown a little bit more endeavour, but he was solid enough. Rashford was the interesting one, because this is where me and you spoke earlier. I've read so many places online, all different people, saying that Rashford was phenomenal and he changed the game. And I'm wondering if I saw the same game, because he came on, he did that little run as soon as he came on, got down the left, which was brilliant. And apart from that, he tried, but I thought he gave the ball away quite a bit again. I thought he didn't really create much. There was a few, stray passes, really run himself down a few end streets again. And I thought he didn't really do anything of note, to be honest. I thought the one who changed it was Juan Mata. I thought he'd come on and he was superb. But it's a weird one for me with Mata, because although I don't think he did that much in terms of maybe creativity and key passes, what I do think he did is gave us options, and it opened up that final third for us, because I think when Mata drifts in and plays off other players, everyone else around him seems to become more confident. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's his touch and his ability to control a ball and slip a pass. I don't know what it is, but everyone just seems to come alive when Mata's around, especially in the final third and when we're pressing. So I thought he did really well, especially for the Matic goal, that last one. And yeah, it was an interesting one. I like when Mata and Sanchez play, because for me, coming back to what we mentioned before about Sanchez, I think we'll see the best of Sanchez when we pack the final third, because I think he's the type of player who likes to move the ball quickly, with lots of options around him. Because you'll notice it more often than not when Sanchez plays a pass in the final third, he fires it into the attacker's feet. There's none of this, roller, a daisy cutter across the ground. He's firing it into the attacker's feet, as he should be, because we should be moving the ball quickly. So having the likes of Mata, who can control the ball, play it back, move into space, I think it's essential for the likes of him. And obviously Lukaku as well is going to be moving off them. So yeah, for me, I think Mata was the one who changed the game, even though I think, do you know what it was? I think he made the subs, and I think everyone else in the team sort of upped their game. No one really was fantastic, but I thought, yeah, Mata made the difference, and the other two subs were, okay.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, yeah, like you say, neither of them or none of them did anything particularly outstanding or of note. But what they did do, and this is quite clearly, tactic or a decision by Mourinho in his little input in the game. But what they did do when they came on, Mata in particular, his style of play is get the ball, move with it. I'm sort of repeating myself now from what I said just a moment ago, but but that's exactly what it was. Yeah. With Mata on the pitch, he's not just going to stand still with the ball. He's going to move with it. He's going to create something. He's going to make other people do something, which we didn't have the whole game. And Rashford was made to stay wide, so he's there to stretch the defence. We've seen Lingard sort of put into like a makeshift right back position, who got forward as well. He was providing the width on that side, and it just stretched the defence. And that was what their jobs were to do, I think.
Yeah.
Rashford, stay wide. Lingard, stay wide. Stretch Palace, and give Mata that freedom in the middle to link up with them, to bring other players into play. And I think that was what enabled us to then go ahead and find the space to score those goals. Andrew, what are your thoughts on those three players? And sorry, Ash, you didn't answer the second part of the question.
Sorry.
Do you think any of those players should be starting against Liverpool?
Oh yeah, I think Mata definitely should start. Maybe a front three of Sanchez, Lukaku, and Mata. Luke Shaw, my thoughts on Luke Shaw. He should definitely be starting ahead of Ashley Young, especially with the likes of the attack that they're going to be playing. It's a dodgy one, because that attack at Liverpool, if they're allowed to play, they will cause us issues. And I think having a left-footed left-back who's strong as well as quick is essential against the likes of Firmino and Salah and that. So, for me, he should start. It was a third on Rashford. No, I don't think Rashford should start. I don't think he's done enough. I think maybe come on after 60 minutes and really tire the Liverpool defence. But I don't think he should be starting. I don't think he's warranted enough to be starting. And I think ball retention is going to be essential for us. So I think the likes of maybe Martial and Rashford maybe should not be starting, but maybe should be brought on after 60 minutes.
Fair enough. And really quickly, Andrew, because I think we're going to have to move to Twitter in a moment. Of those three players, Shaw, Mata and Rashford, for you, do any of them start against Liverpool?
Yes, I have the opinion that Shaw should be starting every game right now. So that one's an easy one for me. Mata, yes, I believe Mata should be starting, and I do agree with Ash that I think Rashford right now should be a sub. I just think that right now, if Martial is back and healthy, then he should be starting right now. I think that he's proven himself this year to be very reliable. He can be frustrating at times, but I mean, I get your frustration with him, Ash. While I do disagree at times. I'm sorry, Paul. Sorry, yeah, Paul.
I was just going to keep my mouth shut then.
It would. But yeah, I do think that. I do think, Paul, that he does have frustrating moments because you're like, okay, you've got the speed, get down the line, but then he also does manage to find a way to get an assist or get a goal almost every game. It seems like.
Yeah, it's fair to say.
That's something that right now we sometimes lack is the ability to find that way to get that assist, get that goal. But I do think that right now, Luke Shaw and Juan Mata should be starting. Marcus Rashford should be coming off the bench at a minimum every game. I thought that Marcus Rashford did play well when he came on yesterday. You could make the argument that he did make a large difference in just creating some space down the left. Just by providing that pace.
Oh, you still there, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
There he is. Yep, go on.
Sorry. So yeah, you could make the you could make the argument that if Rashford continues to go down this path, that he should be starting to get that run. Because he did look really good when he came on yesterday. But yeah, right now he should be on the bench for the game and coming on and terrorizing the Liverpool defense once he comes on.
And there we go. I think we're all of the same opinion then. Mata and Shaw should definitely start against Liverpool. I would agree with that. I just love the way Mata affects a game. He's not. He can be elegant. He's not the most tenacious of players or the quickest of players, especially playing on the right hand side. You wouldn't normally put him there, but what he does bring to the team is something that very few other players do, and that's the ability to get everyone else playing. I think we'll move over to Twitter now. We've actually hit the hour mark, so a lot of people that wanted longer podcasts are going to be very happy with us.
You can blame Andrew.
I was one of them.
You were, Andrew.
Yes, blame me.
Okay, so
yeah, if you want to take it over to Twitter then, Ash.
we shall indeed. So yeah, recording the podcast. What would you like us to discuss as usual? Top of the shop then, Matthew McFadden.
Just before you continue, I think just because of the time.
How many do you want?
Yeah, just do three. Let's all answer one each, yeah?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's good.
Let's do it that way.
I've got one.
Yeah, I like it.
I've got 1, 2. Yeah, I could do 3. So top of the shop, then Matthew McFadden. It's sort of a double-barreled question here. So which goal was better, Matic last night or Valencia v Everton earlier this season? And then the second part is, do you think last night's performance could be a catalyst for change in terms of a more attack-minded mindset from Jose, or is last night just a one-off?
Well, I'll go first, soon as I'll be finishing out the show with the outro. So the first part, I'm going to have to go with Matic just purely because of the occasion and what it meant. The second part of the question, will it be a catalyst? No, because there's been a couple of games this season where the Chelsea one, for example, and a couple of other occasions as well where we've been absolutely fantastic in the last 10 minutes and got a win. And every time it's been like, yeah, this will give us the confidence in the next game. And then the next game rolls around and we see exactly the same thing again. Like we've seen against Palace, that brilliant finish against Chelsea, and then we start the Palace game diabolical. So I'm not going to start getting excited for the Liverpool game. I'm still quite nervous about it. I still think that we will be playing 60 minutes defending, and then the last 20 minutes trying to get something, which we've seen quite a lot. So yeah, I'm not going to start getting excited just because we played a fantastic 20 minutes against Palace.
Andrew?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to do a tweet each, aren't we?
Oh, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, if you want to just say that, I agree with everything you just said.
There we
Perfect.
go.
Good.
That makes things easier. Okay, I'll put this to you then, Andrew. From David Makings at Makings101. How about Jose's play style is due to the fact that he can't trust the team fully yet, as last night proved we can attack at times, but our defence and midfield aren't there yet. What do you think? So, can he not trust the team yet?
Ooh. That's a good question.
It is.
I feel like if at this point he doesn't trust the team, then I don't know what he's doing. Typically at this point in the season, you would assume that you would have your best 11 figured out. I think that we're all pretty much in agreement that once Eric Bailly is back, that he should be starting every game. I think that it's a question that I think that is hard to answer because we don't know what's in Jose's mind. We just don't. And he can be so frustrating because it's like somebody will have a great game and then all of a sudden they'll get dropped out of the team. And I think that right now, I think that he doesn't trust the team to an extent, but I also don't think that he trusts what his picks are.
Yeah.
Because I mean, why would you change the team up as frequently as you are if you didn't trust your picks? I mean, that's just it's really frustrating for us because I mean, and I feel like throughout Jose's entire career, he has typically had a starting 11 he pretty much sticks with.
Yeah.
All the time. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
No, I think that's quite common knowledge, really.
It just. Which is really confusing that he has this rotation quite frequently of people, and I think that right now he needs to just pick a starting 11 and give it 4-5 games. Just whoever it is, whoever you think your best 11 are, Jose, just do it. If you're listening to this, Jose, just do it. Pick 11 and just go.
He's on next week, so don't worry, we can ask him.
Sweet, yes.
And then
one more than Ash.
One for me, then, is it?
Yeah, one for you.
Okay, I'll answer Mr. John Chambers at John Chambers 31. He says, "Do you think that regardless of what formation we should or shouldn't be playing, the underlying problem is that the play is just too slow with too many sideways passes?" Which is an interesting one because, and me and Paul have talked about this on many occasions during the podcast and about certain formations that we've played and, you know, the style of play that we've played throughout the season, playing different formations, whether it's the 4-2-3-1 that we started off at the start of the season with Matic and Pogba as a two, which worked so well. We were, you know, battering teams 4-0 here and there. Then we moved to sort of a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2. Again, which worked pretty decent. And then we've seen the 4-3-3 work at times, but be a little more inconsistent. But overall, I think, yes, I think the play is too slow. But I think it's partly down to tactics. We all know Jose loves to keep it defensive. And, you know, he likes to see out games without conceding and then push for the win from there. But I think it also comes down to the players we've got. Because if you look at the types of players, Mata, Pogba is another one, and Alexis Sanchez is another one, 99% of the passes they play, they are zipped across the turf and they're quick into feet. Especially, as I said before about Alexis Sanchez, he naturally wants to move the ball quickly and move the ball forward as fast as possible. I think with the likes of Matic, who dawdles a lot on the ball, as decent as he's been at times this season, he's still very inconsistent and he gets caught on the ball a lot, dawdling. I think McTominay is the same. He loves a good sideways pass, does McTominay. I don't think he moves the ball quickly enough forward as well. Then you move down to the likes of Chris Smalling, who just doesn't pass the ball. Phil Jones, who's been playing at centre back for large parts of the season, doesn't really pass the ball forward enough. And then you look at the likes of Rashford and Martial. You know, they like to take it down the wing, run into trouble, and then lose the ball or misplace a pass. So you look at the team around. We haven't really got a team that's full of good passers. That's why I think it's so essential that we get some reinforcements in the midfield in the summer. And then I think we can look at things a little bit more in depth. Well, we've got the squad, we've got the players who can play those passes and move the ball quickly. Now is it an issue? Looking at the manager and looking at the formation and the tactics. I think it's a both are to blame, but I think I'd look at the players more so because the midfield is the heartbeat and the catalyst of everything to do with moving the ball forward and passing it quickly. And our thoughts on the midfield. So yeah, that's what I think.
Fair enough. Well, I think that rounds off a pretty good show, if I don't say so myself.
Here he is.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Good to hear. And thank you, Andrew, for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Andrew.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate being on.
Andrew.
You guys know I love you guys. Come on now.
Do you want to give out your Twitter details for our listeners?
Absolutely. It's at RedBeardedRed. Come follow me. I'll talk to you guys about whatever you want. If you want to talk about politics, I'll talk about politics. If you want to talk about sports, I'll talk about sports. Just come talk to me. I'm friendly.
There you go. And Ash?
Yeah, it's at Ashboyo, ASHBOIO. Most of you know me by now. Just throw me questions or abuse. Send me some memes. I don't mind. I'll look at some memes. That's fine.
Yeah, thank you all for listening. As usual, you can follow myself at Paul Gardiner LP. We are now on YouTube. We put a tweet out a little while ago asking us what you would like us to do to improve the podcast, and one suggestion was, we get it quite a lot, is get onto YouTube. So we've done that. You can find us on YouTube. Just search Talking Manchester United. We are on there, and last week's episode has been put up. This week's will go up tonight, so you can get that on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment as well. Yeah. We do get some tweets, not very many, but obviously we understand that people are listening on their podcast apps. You don't always want to log into Twitter and find us and then tweet us. It's a bit of a pain. But if you're watching on YouTube, you've got no excuse. The comment boxes are right underneath, so get involved with the conversation. Let us know what you think on some of the points that we've discussed tonight. So yeah, get over there and subscribe. And while you're there, while you're on YouTube, search VanCam, Kev Ashford, formerly of the United Stand. It's hilarious. Every week, every Friday, he puts a new episode up. So get over there and subscribe. Follow our podcast Twitter account at United Stand Pod. I think I've covered about everything. Unless I've missed something, I don't know.
No.
Anyway.
Congratulations to the United Stand YouTube page for reaching 200,000. And
of course.
Congratulations to the Twitter for getting over 100,000.
Yes. Well remembered, Andrew. I can't believe I forgot about that. Mark could have been most upset with me.
when you're a moderator, it's hard
to
not remember that.
Excellent. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Yes.
Good talking to you both.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
No worries, and thank you all for listening. We will be back next week.